I have here my top 25 builds in Mech Arena, and I'm going to be ranking them, but since I'm not really a professional, I have with me Platinum LTA, and he's got his own list of 25 builds. Spoilers, they are not the same. So we are going to be going through our own picks. We're going to be ranking them here, discussing it, and by the end, we'll have a conclusive list of the actual top builds. So, Platinum, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. I will start off here with Revoker Surge. Revoker Surge was one of the, probably like the top meta build for the longest time. I don't really think it's S tier anymore. It's not top meta, but I would say it is off meta. I still think it works very, very well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will also agree. Surge itself is a really strong mech, but the revokers on it are not strong anymore. Because the duration, even though if you are using the duration implant, this revoker is not going to be killing the maxed out mechs. So yeah, I agree with this placement. It can stay in the off meta.
Fair enough. So now, Platinum will pull up one that he picked.
Place it in the S tier.
Hornet Deathwalker in S tier. Now, why is that? Because, like, I've used Hornet. They're good, for sure. I don't feel like they're super, like, brawlery weapons, though.
Okay, so the thing that I really like about Hornets, and I myself use it a lot in the competitive battles these days, their Venom damage perk is amazing. It gets rid of max very quickly, especially the lace wings, and it is a hard counter for lace wings.
I definitely can see the lace swing angle. Yeah,
the way this weapon works is basically you can fire both sides at a time and it will apply the venom, then wait for that venom to go out and immediately apply it again. Or you can apply it on multiple targets, reducing their HP, because this one is going to bypass their mods. This gives it an edge, so I will definitely rate it the S top tier.
Alright. So, back over to me. I think this is one that we both agree on. Strike Rocket Outlaw. Yeah, top meta. I would say probably better than that build specifically. What are your thoughts on that? I think the range on Strike Rocket is perfect for Outlaw.
Yeah, that's true, because right now the thing is Outlaw counters Deathwalker. Before it also counters, but now it's easier to stay behind a wall and crash Deathwalker. Yeah, it's much easier now. So yeah, Outlaw pretty much with any weapon is going to be ranked higher than the Deathwalker.
Obviously slightly map dependent, so it's maybe not the most reliable.
Yeah, you are not going to be running it on the closed maps. Yep, it won't work.
But I do find, like, I like this one better than, let's say, Pod Gun, because the homing range, like, it has, I think, 10 meters base range extra, and then you can extend that by 30% as well. I feel like ranged mechs tend to prefer a little bit longer than 100 meters.
Next one is Burrow Seeker. And this is definitely the top meta build, and we can place it above Outlaw. Let's talk about the implants as well. You can run 3 Burrow Beam implants. By 3 I mean the fire rate, the damage, and the mag, and the seeker distance. And that Burrow Beam is going to melt through a target. And there's another thing, instead of the distance on the small maps, if you pair up the damage implant, that seeker damage boost, this build is extremely strong.
Yeah,
I was even on an Outlaw, it will go through it.
It probably has the damage capacity to kill almost anything. I was going to ask about the damage boost implant. Would it be better theoretically than like fire rate? Because fire rate adds quickness to the kill, but technically doesn't deal as much damage.
Yeah, the way I like to, and most of my APX team members like to use it, that we run all the 3 beam implants. And on the close maps we run the seeker damage boost, and on the long range maps we run the distance. So yeah,
I mean distance makes sense. Distance is like one of my favorite seeker implants. I was just wondering if there's a specific reason to use 3 beam implants Seeker bonus damage would add the same amount of DPS as the fire rate implant would, but it wouldn't burn through the mag as quickly, so you technically have more total mag damage.
Yeah, you can do it like that. You can run it like that.
Hornet Solus. This is one from myself. I would say this one, I maybe give a little bit too much credit to Solus and Hemlock, but I would call it S tier, just not above either of this.
Okay.
I think...
any reasons?
Well, I think it's kind of the same as like Pod Gun, but it has longer homing range and higher DPS. So I think it's basically just a better version of Pod Gun Solus at this point. And obviously in a team scenario, Solus is able to like completely spam the crap out of people with the blind, and that tends to work very well, at least from my experience.
Yeah, that's completely perfect. Most of the times we like to run pod guns on it because our hornets are occupied by Deathwalker or Outlaw most of the times.
Yeah, because they're occupied on something else. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we basically never run hornets on Solus, but yeah, it can work, obviously, hornets.
So I don't think this one was in your list, so it just wasn't in your list simply because like you don't...
No, as I mentioned, because we run pod guns Solus.
There's going to be a lot of different builds that are using the same weapons, and obviously you can't use them all at the same time, but you just kind of pick the ones that you prefer.
Lacewing Hornets, I don't think it's a S tier build. We can put it in the A tier of meta.
Okay.
So the reason behind it is that it's a 24 energy mag, first of all. It doesn't deal enough damage as compared to the Hornet 16s. Simple rule, if you are willing to go for the Hornets, better go for the 16 energy variant. It's not worth to run the 12s. Yes, they work, but they don't apply enough venom damage as compared to the Hornet 16s. So during our competitive plays, we most of the times don't run Hornets on Lace. If we want to run something on Lacewing, then the first priority is Stormrex, the second one is Bottom. So these two are the top priority builds.
Yeah, it doesn't tend to work out as well. Yeah, that's definitely true, because you rely a lot on the venom damage, and if it's not that high, then it takes too much of a magazine, maybe even multiple magazines, to do anything super useful.
Yeah.
That definitely plays a part, for sure. I mean, most likely you're not doubling down on Hornet builds, right? Like, if you got it on one thing, you're probably not going to use it anywhere else.
Yeah, you're not going to do it, yeah.
So, I guess, is there a specific reason you don't run 16 and 8? Because for people who don't know, you can run a 16 and 8 Hornet, and the venom is dependent on the order that you apply it. So you can fire the 8 first to apply the first half of venom, fire the 16, and it deals the 16's worth of venom every time. So you get the same venom as a 16, just with 24 energy.
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it. But, you know, that demands more precision, like fire one side, fire the other one. And during competitive plays, you have multiple things to consider. So, yeah, it can work, but we don't consider it in our list.
Fair enough. Here's one we're gonna agree on. Stormwrack Deathwalker. How about that?
This is trash build, not meta. Put it.
Okay, that's my bad. That's my bad game. I'm gonna put this probably here under the Outlaw, huh?
Yeah. I think that is...
Yeah, I definitely think Stormwrack's better than Hornet. Stormwrack, there's some other weapons that we'll get into later as well, but I would say Stormwrack is still, in my mind, the best weapon for Deathwalker.
There's a reason why we run Storms on Deathwalker.
Yeah.
First, it can make the opponents come out of cover. Hornets cannot do that. If you are hiding behind a wall, you will have to get close to them to deal damage, you know? Yes, they can do splash, but still that splash is not
reliably,
compared to the Stormwrecks, you know? So yeah, Stormwrecks, clearly the winners.
Pretty serious radius, but also like if you get sent back while you're mid-firing, it'll just continue firing until the magazine's empty. So you basically get a crap ton of free damage out of that too. All right, let's get into probably the most controversial one from my tier list.
Whirlbeam Citadel. It's an S tier build, above Outlaw.
Above Outlaw. That is insane. Okay.
So I would like to mention there is a modifier going on, so we are taking that into consideration as well. First of all, let's talk about why Citadel is an S tier mech. I would say Citadel is the only mech that allows you to rush blindly into the opponent's space. By blindly, I mean you can go in without having to worry about stuns from surges, from blaze frost, from hemlocks. You can pretty much just go in. And when you have weapon like burrow beam, apart from a single crash from an outlaw, that can stop it a little bit, but burrow beams reload very quickly.
Yeah,
you can go into it again. So that's the reason I placed it higher than the outlaw, because even if it gets crashed, it won't be doing enough damage to it.
Stormrack and Burrow Beam, probably the top two weapons that almost everybody has. I would guess they would deal with Citadel pretty quickly, right? Because like the only thing that it has outside of this speed boost is the shield, which is, it's a strong shield for sure, but unless there's a dash mech, you're kind of only working with the shield.
So the way we like to run Citadel is pretty simple. The most aggressive start that you can do, this mech supports it. This not only slows them down, but also gives you the rushing power and the shield. And when we are doing the rushing, we make sure that there is another Citadel backing us up. So in the team plays, because you're not going to be going alone into their faces. And at the end of the day, this is a support mech, but we are using it very aggressively. If this mech is supported by another Citadel and two Blaze Force that are also running into the opponent's spaces, that is a really, really solid start. And that allows this mech to shine. You can just go in, get 3 to 4 kills, and we did it against multiple opponents, and it works really well.
My original tier list, I do feel like I probably placed it too low, but I don't know. Sure, with Burrow Beam it's very strong, but I'm thinking in terms of like other people also having Burrow Beam. It's definitely growing on me. It's definitely growing on me, and I was probably wrong about it. Honestly, I'll just say it, right? I don't know, it didn't strike me as like being that crazy, because like at the end of the day it kind of just has a shield, and nothing that just has a shield is ever good. Like it's never good because of that.
Not only shield, it reduces their stuns, and that is a really, really big point.
Everything put together, it creates a very strong mech.
Yeah, it is really strong.
This is one that I picked. This was not on your list, but I feel like this is a very, very underrated one. Maybe it would be off meta. Compound Beam Seeker. I think Compound Beam low-key is the perfect weapon for Seeker, outside of Burrow Beam, just because it's Burrow Beam.
Why is that?
I mean, first, it slows people down. It applies stasis, so it keeps them from being able to turn around as fast. The damage boost will help the beam part actually chew through like a multi-layered shield or whatever. But also, you kind of can just spam EMP on them as well. And like all of this is happening before they're really even able to turn around in a lot of cases. So if you're actually able to get a successful jump on somebody, I feel like it's very difficult for anyone to actually be able to deal with it.
All right. So the way I look at it, yes, this can work. I myself haven't really tried it in the competitive battles, honestly, because we run burrow beams. But yeah, this can work and definitely has a potential to keep them locked in place. And with the Seeker damage boost implant, the blast is gonna deal a ton of damage, if I'm not wrong.
It does a stupid amount of damage, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't used it competitively either, obviously, but I have used it a bit, and it seems very strong.
Not a S tier top meta, but yeah, we can put it in the A tier.
I don't think anybody's really used it enough to determine where it belongs. Maybe it's not meta at all.
Exactly. So it's hard to make any conclusion regarding this.
Yeah, a little bit early.
Let's put it in the B for now.
So it's on your list, but you don't really think it's meta?
Not really. Because if we are comparing it with other mechs, like the ones we have in the S tier, this doesn't really make it in the list. Yes, it works. I myself used it, but in the full modded competitive battles, it's 50-50. It sometimes works well, sometimes it doesn't perform good.
Less reliable now.
You need to maintain a distance. And when you are using a Nomad, you don't really do that. The goal is to rush towards the beacons. The goal is not to stay back and shoot the Stormwrecks.
Yeah, yeah.
Nomad is not meant to be used like that. So in simple words, this weapon does not suit Nomad.
So this was the only Nomad build on your list. So I guess I would ask, if the Stormwreck doesn't fit very well, do you think there are other builds that work better? You just didn't have them on, you forgot to put them on the list maybe?
No, the build that actually works better is still Revokers.
So what, like, okay, I might cut this part out, but I am curious now. What would you think about a theoretical Hellfire Nomad? Obviously, less DPS at point blank, but according to yours and BMP's test videos, better DPS at even like 30 meters range. Plus, you have the added benefit of you can apply the burn to as many people as you can before you die.
Yeah, I haven't really considered it honestly, but if you think about it, it can work.
Yeah, okay,
it could work, yep.
There's a lot of theoretical builds out there, but then you try it and it's like, God, that sucks.
Exactly.
I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of it is kind of a situation with like Hornet Solus, where this wasn't on your list either. It can do pretty good. It's even like S tier, but it's just a matter of you very rarely end up pairing them together because you either use a better mech or a better weapon.
That's true.
Stormwreck Hemlock. I think we both agreed on this one. I would consider this top meta still, but since it's Hemlock, it's a little sketchy, and I would definitely put it at the back. In a relatively ideal like map and mode, Hemlock is still kind of disgusting, I think, and Stormwreck is easily the best weapon for it.
Yeah, I also agree. This is very map dependent. There are certain maps Hemlock works really well, like Back Alley, let's say. If you think about it, using it in a CPC, most of the times your goal is going to be staying back. You're not going to be rushing. You're playing the support role. So yeah, it can work. I wouldn't say it's better than a Solus. The reason is pretty simple. Solus can blind multiple targets at a time. Hemlock cannot do that. Hemlock can only lock one target at a time.
And with the cooldown being as long as it is now, like Solus can get out like 4 blinds by the time Hemlock's done with 1.
That's true.
Would you say it's niched enough to where it belongs in A? There's a lot of scenarios where anything can do really, really well. It's a matter of like, how often do those scenarios come up? How frequent are they?
It is good. But since the emergence of this Beam Seeker, this thing melts Hemlocks.
True, that's
pretty much, it
also
melts anything, but
yeah, that's true.
Citadel counters it, Seeker Burrow Beams counters it, even Outlaw counters it.
Hemlock officially dropped to off meta. Very sad.
Parasite with charge rockets. Let's place it in the A tier. It's not the S tier top meta. Yeah, let's place it above Seeker. It's very simple. The speed boost, man, it's crazy.
Yep. Parasite's one of its biggest weaknesses is it's not very fast and it can't close distances very fast. And Charge Rocket really solves that problem. The issue is that the damage output on it is good, but it's not crazy, so you end up only being able to have the DPS to kill one guy, maybe.
Yeah. So the reason why this build works, and it's really funny actually, people don't expect this Parasite to go into your face and get, lock you out of nowhere. You are going, what's going on? What happened? Basically, Charge Rocket, it's not easy to use. Even on PC, it's not easy. You will have to keep on holding the button. It's not an easy task. So yeah, you will have to alternate fire and keep on firing so that you always end up with the speed boost. And the goal is very simple. You will have to get locked onto the target. If you don't get locked onto any target, then running charge rockets on this Parasite is pretty much useless. The best example is to lock onto a lace wing and leave it there. Don't shoot it. Focus on the other targets. You're not going to be getting multiple kills with it, but you are going to be the most annoying person at that time.
Yeah.
So
You'll make
yeah,
everybody
this is
hate
a
you for a solid
really
30 seconds.
exactly, man. This is a really annoying build to deal with.
Parasite also, the range on the ability is kind of not crazy either, so there's a lot of benefits to having Charge
Yeah.
Rocket on it. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I gave myself an easy one, Stormrack Lace Swing. I would normally call it top 1 just because of how disgusting it is in the ideal situations, but I actually will put it above Seeker. I think Seeker's more niched. It's easier to counter a Seeker, I think. Lace Swing has no mech counters, basically, period. You just kind of get up to a spot, and then you sit there and you be really freaking annoying, and there's basically nothing anyone can do about it unless they happen to have Strike Rocket or some bullcrap. So obviously that doesn't,
Yeah,
it's not the
there's-
case for every map, but even in the cases where you can't jump up on a roof, most weapons, like Stormrack or Burrow Beam, have a really hard time hitting a Lace Swing while it's jumping around, wiggling in the air. So you cause them to miss a lot of their shots, and obviously you having Stormrack, you're not really going to miss much of your shots. So I would put it at the top. Now maybe there's a future build that'd be above it, but currently, like as it is, I think this is going to be at the top of this. So what do you think?
Yeah, I will also agree because there are certain maps where this mech is pretty much unkillable. If it gets there, then you are just gonna be like, what on earth, man? What am I
It's kind of
supposed to do?
GG, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So apart from certain weapons like strike rockets and hornets, if the Lace Wing is a smart player, then that mech can stay alive for way too long, and if it does that, your team is gonna get cooked pretty much. Especially on maps like Imperial Temple, if this mech gets on a spot where other weapons cannot reach, then you are pretty much unkillable.
Doesn't really help my
Just don't
point, but sometimes, like, very often when I'm using Stormrack Lace Swing, I end up I actually lose the match because I survive too long and I never grab any beacons.
Yeah, that's true, but we are looking at it like
From a team perspective, yeah, that's just me being dumb
Yeah.
perspective. Like, that's basically me saying that, like, it survives so long that it could even sometimes be a problem how long it survives for.
Yeah,
It's
that
ridiculous.
obviously that's not gonna work. Railgun Orion, A tier.
Now, how many of you guys watching thought you'd see an epic mech in here? And also, I glazed this build a lot. You're welcome. It's because it's good.
It is really good. It's not only good, it is really good.
It's very, very
And
good.
it counters multiple mechs.
Mhm.
Basically, once a mech is marked, Railgun can deal a ton of damage.
very
And Lace Swing, Surge, even a Seeker, you can one-shot it pretty much. If you are lucky and if you are smart, you can one-shot these mechs. Even if you don't one-shot, it will only take like 1 or 2 more shots to get rid of the mech.
Yeah.
So it's that strong.
And
It's
even if you
really strong.
can't, it makes them a lot weaker for your allies to deal with them.
Exactly. So basically, this is a hard counter for Lace Swing.
Sure.
Most of the times, if you mark a lace, you can one-shot if your aim is really good. The other goal of this mech is to apply the ability on different targets so that it slows them down and your opponents can deal with them easier. So it is basically a support build, but it's a really strong and deadly support build.
Not the sort of thing everyone would have, but like you'd have like maybe 1 or 2 on a team. Right?
Yeah, at max 1, not 2.
Okay.
1 is enough.
Burrow Beam Eclipse. Burrow Beam kind of self-explanatory. The Eclipse part, it doesn't like hard counter anything, but I would say that is not going to be your first pick, but would be one that you'd gladly take if you didn't have anything better. So I'm going to put it there. That's where I think it belongs.
Yeah, I will also agree. Before the nerf, this build was extremely strong. With the duration, you can pretty much just go into the enemy faces, just like the Citadel, and get rid of the Hemlocks and even Parasites and Outlaws.
That's probably what I was missing with Citadel, is like Citadel has an element of Eclipse to it, where it really keeps a lot of things from being able to stop it.
In our cases, we got rid of the Eclipse.
Yeah.
Nobody uses it in the endgame hangar now. That's very sad,
Understandable.
actually. Burrow Beam itself is really strong setup. The Eclipse will still work, but the thing is, you need to be very careful with it. Before, the goal was very simple: activate the ability, rush in, get kill, come back. Now, most of the times, your ability will even run out while you're
Yeah.
getting a kill. So yeah, that's not a good thing.
Before it was like the Revoker meta, it was only a few mechs that were even able to use Revoker very effectively, but it was so many times stronger than everything else that just being able to use Revoker gave Eclipse a major advantage.
That's true. Podgun Deathwalker, I will place it in the B tier, above Nomad. So the reason is pretty simple. We have a better version of this now. We have Hornets.
True, it's the same story except slightly worse.
Exactly. We got Hornets and the Podgun Deathwalker, yes, it works. People are going to be like, what? It is a really strong build? Yes, it is a strong build.
Yeah. Keep in mind that the stuff we're putting in B doesn't mean we think it's bad. This was still in our top 25 builds, keep in mind, right?
Yeah.
There's might be one or two that maybe we're missing. But yeah, I've always thought that Podgun Deathwalker was a little bit overrated. I've seen a lot of people use it, but and I've tried it myself a couple of times. Never really got great results with it though.
Yeah, that's true, because the thing is, your end goal is to rush in towards the target and get kills as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Podguns are not gonna do that. Apart from getting Lacewing kill,
Yeah.
you're not going to be getting enough value from this build. Outlaw handles it better, Solace handles it better, so yeah.
For sure. Hornet Outlaw. My personal preference is that Strike Rocket's better overall. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply to certain maps, but there's also certain maps that are bad for Hornet, keep in mind. Because it fires, it's really annoying. I actually hate the way that it fires. It deals a lot of damage and it's a good weapon, but I low-key hate the way that it fires. As opposed to Podgun, it doesn't like curve upward and above stuff. It really likes to hit all the terrain it can possibly manage to hit, but it is very good. It has, you know, better homing range than like Podgun, a lot of damage, probably better DPS than Strike Rocket, but slightly less, I don't know if I would say practicality, but I guess practicality is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I also agree. And the placement is also perfectly fine. Hornets and Strike Rockets, you can basically swap these two around and it will still work. It will still be justified.
Yeah.
So yeah, these two are the top meta builds.
Gotcha.
Hornets and Strike Rockets. Burrow Beam Surge. It's absolutely trash.
Never use it.
S tier.
It's in the top 3
And
for sure.
yeah, definitely put it above Citadel. No, below Citadel, not top 3.
Not okay.
If you kick Lacewing out, then it's top 3.
Sure. Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, Surge itself is a really strong mech, and with Burrow Beams, it's absolutely crazy. Do keep in mind that Burrow Beams, you don't really have to fire them from the front armor. You can move around, shoot them from the back armor and deal more damage, and you must do that if you are using a Surge, because the end goal is to eliminate the enemies quicker.
Kill them while they're EMP'd. Yep.
So yeah, this Burrow Beam solves that problem. You can do that.
If it were up to me, I probably would put it in the top 2 or 3. It's easily more practical than Seeker. Maybe Citadel does deserve to be higher, but I would probably put it above Seeker though.
The way I look at it,
Sure.
Seeker with Burrow Beams, if you are lucky, then you can counter it. Why am I using the word luck here? The thing is that while you are playing against people from different regions, most of the times there is a term known as lag, and that also plays a part. While the Seeker TPs on to your Surge, most of the times you won't be able to stun it within time. You can stun it, but the beam is going to deal a ton of damage to your Surge. So for now, I think we can place it above Seeker. Let's eliminate those lag factors. You can even place it above a Lacewing, honestly.
You probably could. It's probably less situational.
Yeah.
We don't need to be that nitpicky about it, but
yeah, we can go, all day
yeah.
long talking about these beers, going deeper and deeper, and then still there are people gonna be like, what? That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. Strike Rocket Lacewing. This is an obligatory silence spawn. I personally don't like this build very much. I don't think I'm even going to put it in S. I think I'm going to put it in A somewhere. Do I think it's better than Hornet? I kind of do, but only because the kind of lacewing spots that are really good, you don't have to get out from cover to fire if you're using Strike Rocket. You can literally just sit there. But that kind of depends on the map.
I agree.
Yeah, I can see the value in it, but 24 energy of Strike Rocket is just kinda not that much.
Same, and to be honest, I will put it in B tier, not even in the A tier.
Okay, Silence is gonna have some words for you. But even still, compared to Deathwalker, it's like, Podgun Deathwalker's not great, but at least it's 32 energy. That's still a lot of damage, whereas Strike Rocket Lacewing is like kind of not a lot of damage. It's convenient. It's really easy and convenient damage, but it's not a lot. It's fair enough.
I think this justifies it. You can even put it in the A tier, you know, but below Hornets. You can even do that, but I don't think it really deserves the spot there.
No, I'll take your word for it. We'll go with yours. Silence can make his own tier list, and he can put Strike Rocket Lacewing in the top where we all know.
He can put it above,
that's where it is in his heart.
Rex. Charge Rocket Deathwalker, A tier. Above Eclipse.
Below Orion even.
Charge Rockets, as you know, you will have to keep on holding the fire button. The problem is, let's say your Deathwalker gets sent back. The Charge Rocket is going to reload from 0 bullet. Meaning that you won't have any bullet to fire. If the enemy catches you off guard, you're going to be like a sitting duck. So yes, Charge Rocket 16 Deathwalker is a solid build. You can put a lot of pressure on the opponents. You can move really quickly, cover, you know, a lot of distance very fast, and also do significant amount of damage. Charge Rocket 16s, believe it or not, do really good damage. The only downside compared to the Stormwreck Deathwalker, while you go back, the storms will keep on firing. Charge Rocket will stop.
In a scenario where like if you had Stormwreck though, you would still kind of have a lot of the same problems in that case, where you would unload your Stormwreck as you're getting sent back, and then by the time you get sent back, you don't really have an active weapon anymore. And their cycle times are very similar. Like the reload time of Charge Rocket and Stormwreck are very similar. But I definitely agree, and I'm glad that you didn't put it in S. I've used this as my main Deathwalker build for a little while, and honestly, in concept it seemed really good, but I just kind of wasn't really feeling it. I didn't like it as much as Stormwreck, and I'm glad to see that it's not just me being bad, it's like actually true, it's not as good as Stormwreck. It's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. S tier, yep. The other factor, you know, it's not easy to use. That's the other problem. It's really hard to use. So even if this is a better build than Storms, I will still not recommend it. It's way too hard.
Hellfire Blizzfrost. I'm gonna put this in probably A, because you probably wouldn't choose it over Burrow Beam or Stormwreck. Because you made that one test video, BMP made another similar test video. The overwhelming consensus is that unless it's basically point blank, Hellfire's kind of better than Revoker, which makes Hellfire very, you know, it's very decent super close quarters weapon, and Blizzfrost does really well in super close quarters.
This has a better range than Revokers, and the thing is, most of the times you are not going to be firing at multiple targets. With Blizzfrost, you are going to stun one, get close to it and deal damage.
Yeah, so the DOT really plays a very minor role in that case.
Yeah,
that's definitely true. So it's kind of just a straight upgrade from Revoker on something that's able to close distance but not like crazy fast. So that's kind of where I was expecting that.
Yeah, this is justifiable, and I think this is a perfect spot. Better than Eclipse, better than Seeker. Yeah, this is perfect. Next up is Outlaw Burrow Beams. Honestly, it depends on the scenario, but let's put it in the S tier for now.
Okay.
Below Solace, I will not recommend running dual Burrow Beam 16, even on Deathwalker. Yes, they output really good damage, but you need 16 and 8, you need double 12s, and that gives you the flexibility to put them on 24 energy capacity mechs. And these mechs can run Hornets, these mechs can run Stormwrecks. So putting it on an Outlaw, first of all, you are sacrificing, multiple options. You are running dual Burrow Beam 16s on it, and this build is requiring you to come out in the open. You cannot do damage by staying behind cover, and the goal of the Outlaw is to rely on the weapons that allow you to stay behind cover and curve the bullets, like body guns, like Hornets, even strike rockets, even Geminis. Those weapons allow you the flexibility to stay behind cover and deal damage. With Burrow Beams, it's really hard to fire a single arm. The moment you fire it, you will feel a little shake in the movement of your camera movement.
Even just staggering your weapons a little bit, it like pushes it to one side and then pushes it to the... It is difficult. I've tried.
Really hard. It's really hard to control.
For sure.
The only time this build works really well is allowing the Outlaw to protect itself against Seekers. Burrow Beam Outlaw can melt a Seeker. If the Seeker Burrow Beam teleports on this guy, this one is going to say hi to it and goodbye to it at the same time. So this is a really, really good build in order to counter the Seeker. Apart from increased self-defense, I wouldn't recommend running it. If you compare it with other setups like Stormwrecks, with Geminis or Hornets, those allow you more flexibility.
Do you think generally, if your overall TLDR is you wouldn't really recommend it, do you think it's worth dropping it to A tier instead?
We can. We can drop it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Again, it's not bad. It definitely can work pretty darn well. Burrow Beam Deathwalker, speaking of other mechs to put the 16s on. Probably kind of the same deal. The difference with this one being that Deathwalker is a way more aggressive mech, and it can actually make really good use out of everything that comes with Burrow Beam. I would definitely expect it to be better, to the point where it is probably S tier. It's definitely not better than Stormwreck. Whether or not it's better than Hornet, I wouldn't really know, because I don't know if I've used Hornet Deathwalker a single time in my life.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I actually don't think so.
You should definitely try it. It's really good.
Clearly, man, I was hearing some things, but then like at the same time, I always heard things about like Pod Gun Deathwalker, and I'm like, it's not that good. Like, sure, it's Deathwalker, it can do okay, but it's not that good. So I just assumed Hornet would be very similar, but I guess freaking not. But what are your thoughts on Burrow Beams?
All right. So let's talk about why this build is strong and why this build is not strong. So why this build is strong? The reason is very simple. Deathwalker allows you to go into the enemy spaces, and the Burrow Beams, with the amount of firepower this weapon has, you can pretty much melt anything. The reason why this doesn't work that well as compared to the Stormwreck, even Hornets, is that this one doesn't have any splash damage. First of all, you won't be able to force the enemies to get out of cover. They can hide if they are facing Burrow Beam Deathwalker. So that's the first point. The second point is that if Burrow Beam Deathwalker gets sent back, while firing, the beam will instantly stop firing. It will cut off immediately. Pretty much a similar case to charge rockets, you can say.
Yeah.
But since they reload very quickly, at least you can defend yourself. So yeah, that makes it a better option as compared to the charge rockets. But yeah, you need to be careful. If your health is very low, then you need to play very smart. S tier, but not the top of the list.
Gotcha.
Revoker Seeker. It is definitely a really good build. Everyone knows that Revoker Seeker is a really good build. And since there are many outlaws, if outlaw crashes you, the Revoker is going to fire quicker. So yeah, Revoker still works really good against outlaws, but if you are thinking about dealing significant damage to other mechs, then yes, it will suffer a bit.
Yeah, I can understand this. There's not a lot of Revoker builds that work super well, but there definitely are still a few. Even Surge.
To be honest with you, let's put this Revoker Seeker below Surge.
Strike Rocket Solus. I think, because again, I have a preference for Strike Rocket over Hornet, on support mechs. Longer maximum range is really nice, and it also keeps you from having to kind of poke your head out. Because Hornet, even though it has homing, it doesn't have like a crazy amount of homing. You still kind of have to expose yourself a little bit, or like get really close to the edge of your cover, and that'll open you up to like radius weapons and such like. With the obvious caveat of certain maps don't allow Strike Rocket very much. I prefer Strike Rocket, but it's very similar.
Yeah, that's completely true. It's basically similar scenario, like we placed Outlaw Strike Rockets above Outlaw Hornets.
Yeah.
So similar thing. It's pretty much similar, just the mechs are different. And their role is also pretty much similar.
It's true,
So,
yeah, you want to play them basically the same way. That's fair.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Alright, well here, oh, bro, you're gonna have to explain yourself with this one.
Did I even put it? I'm looking at
You
it. I
did.
don't think I put it. Really?
You did.
No.
You gave this to me in
No
your
way.
top 25.
No way. Let me check.
Bro, that's what I was saying when I saw it in your list. I was like, there's no
Really?
chance that this is here.
No.
No,
Wait,
it's
let
true,
me
it's
check.
true. I promise. Unless you edited the
Blockhorn,
list.
Blockhorn. No, I didn't. Oh, it's there. It's there.
Yeah, it is. It's right at the
Oh
bottom.
no.
Bro,
Oh no.
So...
Delete it.
Oh,
Delete it.
so we're gonna put this one in not meta. Strike Rocket Blockhorn. Apparently, I don't know, I guess Platinum accidentally put it here. He probably just forgot to get rid of it. He probably did the same thing that I
Where
did, was just list like, I don't know, the top
Where
40
did
or
this come
something
from?
mechs, and then you forgot to...
Yeah, that's not the meta build. But
Okay.
if you take a look at it, like, okay, the issue with the Blockhorn is that the mech itself,
Yeah, it's true.
it will stay on the back lines most of the times. This is not going to be rushing in. The shield is going to support the team. You can put all the weapons like maybe storm racks, maybe burrow beams, but trust me, better mechs are out there. Yeah, it will work, but I will definitely
This
not
one
put
was
it
here by
anywhere
mistake.
near
That's actually
S
I
tier,
was
S
really
tier.
hoping. I'm be honest with you. I was really hoping you had some like crazy lore drop for the meta. I was hoping you'd be like, actually, this is like S tier, and you're gonna tell me why. Poor Blockhorn.
No.
I'll always love you, Blockhorn.
I was looking at the list and I was like, man, when did I put this here?
How did that
happened?
get there? That's crazy.
Yeah.
This is one that I put in that you didn't put in. Burrow Beam Hemlock. I've only used this maybe once or twice. I'm actually going to say the reason that I put it in here was because I believe you listed this as a top mech for Burrow Beam in like one of your videos. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem right. And then you used it a bit and I was like, oh, dang, that actually does look pretty darn good. So I just assumed that this was still meta.
To be honest with you, in my initial list, I had this mech in the top 25. The reason why I removed it was like this mech worked really well for me in 2v2 mode. So when I thought about it, like, okay, this works well in 2v2s, but it's not that strong. We mostly rely on storm racks because at the end of the end goal is to make the opponents come out of cover, you know. On small maps, yes, you can make good use of this, and that's the reason why I like to run it on 2v2 maps like Back Alley, Neon Central. It works really well, but as a build itself, definitely a top tier build. Will I put it in the S tier top mid? I don't think so. In A tier, you can definitely put it, and you can put it below Hemlock Storms.
Yeah, makes sense. Extremely good, but niched.
Quadkin Solace, we are going to put it in A off meta. And the reason why this is not in the S top tier, because, you know, Hornets are there.
Yeah.
Hornets are better option. The mech itself is really strong, as we already mentioned, but the weapon itself, you know, it lags a little bit behind.
For me, I tend to prefer, again, just longer homing range. Having only 100 meters, I say only, but like 100 meters of homing range on a mech that's trying to stay as far back as possible, that's actually kind of inconvenient. And even though Podgun's a very solid weapon, Hornet, it just has better DPS and it has better homing range, so there's not a whole lot of reason that you'd opt to use Podgun. Stormwreck Blizzfrost. I definitely undervalued Blizzfrost in my mech tier list. Definitely better than Solus. I'll put it here for now.
Yeah. So the thing about Blaze Frost is that it can stun opponents in place.
Yeah.
Having Stormwrecks, you can deal damage. The thing is that don't expect this build to one-shot the targets. You are not going to be doing it like that. But when you are playing for a team, your teammates are going to be there. Your teammates are going to finish it off. If not, you can move back a little bit and try to get a better aim at the target and do splash damage again. So with this build, you can do a lot of splash damage. You can get into a position really quickly. So the thing about Blizzfrost is that you can use it aggressively and passively. I mostly use it passively, honestly. But with Burrow Beams, which we will discuss, you can play very aggressive. So yeah, this is a really good build.
More versatile version of Nomad, I guess.
Depending on the situation, you can play both roles. Let's talk about the placement. Let me see. Now this is a tricky one, honestly. Below Surge, above Outlaw. Yeah, that's definitely a top 5 build. Very good aggressive rushing power. Very good. You can stun the opponents. It can get rid of surges. It can get rid of eclipses, nomads, you name it. This build is really strong. It can also get rid of the lace wings if you are able to time the ability right. So yeah, this is a really good setup.
Gotcha. So Blizzfrost really good against like the classic old meta, I guess I would say, which is very like Dash Scout, like Surge, Nomad, Eclipse even. But we're only left with Surge really, so getting people in the radius probably isn't so important with Blizzfrost. You're willing to use it just for the speed boost and a bit of extra resistance. You're not worrying yourself too much about getting people inside your radius very often.
Exactly. Only against a Surge or something that can stun you back. Your end goal is to gain resistance and, you know, apply as much damage as possible with the Burrow Beams and staying alive. So yeah, that should be the end goal. And you can easily do that with Burrow Beams and Blizzfrost.
This is the old version of Burrow Beam Blizzfrost. This is Revoker Nomad, which...
Kamikaze build.
yeah. I would say it's probably better than Stormwreck Nomad. I think it's probably good enough to belong in A, but at the bottom. There's a couple other Revoker builds in here, right? But Nomad also lost a bit of value just because of Blizzfrost and Citadel. But I'd say even mostly Blizzfrost, simply because Blizzfrost cancels the ability, but also it's even tankier. So that's a pretty rough spot to be in.
And it's sad to see him placed right there. It's really sad because it used to be in the top meta mechs. And
it probably still is for like free for all.
Yeah, for free for all, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. But if you think about the other modes like CPC, 5v5, 2v2s, if you are not encountering a surge or a mech that can stun you, this mech can get rid of most of the mechs. This mech can get rid of Outlaw. It can also get rid of even a Deathwalker Stormwrecks. The Revoker Nomad is able to counter it. Only if you use it correctly. If you don't use it correctly, if you rush blindly, then, you know.
Yeah, just having something that's OP doesn't mean that you're going to get great results.
Don't blame it on us. Like, these guys put it there and it's not working for me.
Yeah, that's called skill issue.
Since we are at it, might as well place it above a Seeker and a Lace. Outlaw Stormwrecks. This is also an S tier build.
Okay.
We can happily put it the S tier. If you consider the maps, I would even rate it better than the Strike Rockets. Even as compared to Harness, and as I explained earlier, because at the end of the day, your goal is to make the opponents get out in the open, come out in the open, and then you can deal damage. With Stormwrecks, you can do that. So I used it in Hangar Showdown as well, and this build itself is really strong. There are certain situations where, you know, this build can suffer, like against a Lace Wing. If it is able to get to a high ground, you won't be able to get rid of it. Apart from that, this is a solid build.
More kill focused and slightly less support focused. But overall, it's a slightly more, like you said, versatile. Last two. Burrow Beam Parasite. I'm gonna put this an S tier, better than the Burrow Beam Deathwalker. You got to be a little bit more careful when you're closing the distance and when you get the link. But once you get the link, you kind of an extreme problem. And it's easily the best Parasite build.
Well, okay, the way I look at this build is a little different scenario and different perspective. First of all, once you get linked to a certain mech, let's say you are linked to a Lacewing.
Sure.
Your opponents should not attack that Lacewing. So basically, you link to a certain mech. Now you are focusing on the other mechs.
Yeah.
You are not trying to kill that Lace. If the opponents kill that Lace, they basically made your Parasite useless.
Yeah, you want them to stay alive for as long as possible, for sure. You as the Parasite, you're not going to fire at the guy that you linked to.
That's true. But in order to make this build really strong, you need good teamwork. You need to pick your target to link to. If you link to a Deathwalker, that's not a good option. So yeah.
God. So do you think that it's not S tier in that case?
If you consider all of these factors, if your teammates don't play it accordingly, without teamwork, this isn't the S tier build. But if the teamwork is there, everything goes according to the plan, then it is justifiable. You can put it in the S tier. But it can hard counter certain builds. Like, if you think about it, it can hard counter a Citadel. It can hard counter Blissfrost. It can hard counter multiple mechs. Like, it can, if you are linked to a Surge cannot do anything.
S tier, but it's a bit trickier.
It's trickier. Next one is Podgun Outlaw, and the answer is very easy and simple. Let's put it in the A tier. So the reason is very simple. As I mentioned earlier, you can you can stay behind cover the weapon, and deal damage. That should be the end goal, right? So yeah, this is a good fit for Outlaw.
Basically, yeah, slightly worse version of Hornet at this point, I guess. Even though pod guns do feel a lot nicer to use, I will say.
Yeah, they do feel a lot nicer to use, but at the end of the day, the end goal is to eliminate the targets quicker,
All right, so this is the official, undisputable, no one can possibly disagree with this because this is just fact, set in stone, top meta builds tier list, including Strike Rocket Blockhorn, which was definitely there on purpose.
Yeah, we placed it there because it's way too OP. If we place it in the S tier top meta, the whole thing is gonna crash.
Yeah, all your A-coin stock will crash if we mess with that a little bit. But yeah, so the last thing I will say is just to kind of reiterate what we've said a couple times during this, is that everything has to be approached with some level of nuance, right? Some things can be better than other things in certain situations. Just because Burrow Beam Surge is a top 2 mech doesn't mean that it's necessarily gonna beat a Burrow Beam Blissfrost, which is placed lower, right? Like, don't necessarily take these too literally, and we may or may not have missed one or two that you guys think are very good. And that's totally okay. Sometimes it's just a matter of the build in question just isn't very practical to use because of certain limitations, like let's say Burrow Beam Deathwalker, right? Like it limits the number of other Burrow Beam builds that you can use, so it's just inherently less valuable because of that. There's plenty of such cases. But this is gonna be it. I appreciate Platinum for joining.
No worries.
You guys are going to see Platinum's channel. Go subscribe to Platinum. He does a lot more of competitive stuff that I don't really do. I'm actually surprised at how accurate I was with a lot of my placements. You actually agreed with a lot of it, and I was like, nice. I expected you to drop some crazy stuff on me. I mean, the Citadel, I was wrong about the Citadel, but that was kind of about it. But Platinum, in terms of top meta, max level, this guy, probably the best content creator for that, if that's what you're into. This is your guy. Otherwise, yeah, that'll be it for both of us. Appreciate y'all. Take care. Hey, it is Editor RuFFles. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around to the very end. This video was an absolute menace to edit. So much of this has been compacted, so like what you see here is not even, I would say, 10% of the actual work that went into this. This has been probably the biggest project I've ever done, and of course, it was low-key ruined by the fact that they announced another rebalance that's going to be happening very, very soon. And that's really annoying for me, but I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know, please, if you want to see another one of these. I can get Platinum on here again, or maybe somebody else that you think is, equally or more knowledgeable about this sort of thing. I can do more of these, make it a regular thing alongside my normal tier lists. So yeah, I appreciate Platinum for joining me for this, and it did take a lot longer than I expected to be able to finish editing and uploading it, but if this video does well, then I will make these a semi-regular thing. Otherwise, yeah, appreciate y'all. Take care.